right, shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, meaning He is, He exists, He to be. BAHASHAM name, YAHAWASHI being the name of the only begotten Son, meaning He deliver, He saves, RAWCHAA, Holy Spirit. All right, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, peace and blessings to the elected of nation Israel. All right, back at it again with another camp lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. Lord willing, lesson is edifying. I'm the brother Ottawa, just getting straight to it through the spirit, man. All right, so we back out here again through the spirit of power, Yahweh, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. Another privileged opportunity to be out here to do this work, man, in truth and in sincerity. Okay, and through the RAWCHAA, the Holy Spirit, you know. And just like last week, starting off once again talking about that same group, Genesis, man. Okay, because, you know, they're waxing worse and worse. But Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI is just making it evident that they're none of His. All right? And, you know, these guys, they sold out. They took the bag. Okay, they took the bag, man. You know, they're compromised. All right, and they switched up the doctrine. Okay? But that's just an evident token of their perdition. You know, here it is. These guys have been preaching for decades that, you know, we're Israelites and Esau going into slavery and all these other things. They're making music about it, rap videos, T-shirts. You know what I'm saying? All these different things, man. But yet, all of a sudden, here we are, 2025. We're the closest to the end we've ever been. And all of a sudden, these dudes are backpedaling now. You know, they're changing their stance on salvation and on the other nations, and they want to link up a vocab Malone. That is a red flag right there. That's a major sign. That's a sign that these dudes, they're compromised. They sold out, man. They took the bag. Okay? But, you know, hey, we already knew these dudes wasn't right, man. Okay, and how did we know? We knew it through their fruits. The Lord told us of these things. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 7. And verse 15, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Okay, and it's not just Genesis who the scripture applies to. It applies to many false prophets who are all around the world, man. You know, they look the part, they sound the part, you know what I'm saying? But when you really look through these guys, okay, and you examine them, and you compare them to what the scriptures are actually saying, these guys, they don't line up, man. They don't fit, you know, the description of a real prophet of Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, of a real man of the Lord that's been sent, okay, to truly, you know, do the bidding of Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI on the right-hand side in righteousness. These guys are false prophets, man. All right? It says, ye shall know them by their fruits. Meaning what? The things that they produce, the things that they bring forward, these things tell what type of individual you're dealing with. And this precept doesn't necessarily just apply to false prophets alone. It applies to anybody, man, for that matter. You know? I want to go into that word fruits in the Greek before I finish this precept. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 7 and 16, the word for fruits.
Strong's G 2590, cardapas.
It says cardapas. It says the fruit of the trees, vines of the fields, the fruit of one's loins, i.e. his progeny, his posterity. It says that which originates or comes from something, an effect, result. It says work, act, deed. Okay? And there's more, you know. But I'll keep reading. But the point is what? Their works, their acts, their deeds. That's the point. All right? But it says advantage, profit, utility, praises, which are represented to Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI as a thank offering. And see, these guys, they're offering up a strange sacrifice. They're offering up a strange incense before the Lord, man. They're not offering up a right sacrifice before Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. They're offering an accursed thing, an unclean thing, man. All right, by pushing false doctrines, man. Okay? And watch. These dudes already haven't been calling on the name, you know, because a lot of times they say Christ. You know what I mean? The name has really been stripped from these guys from a long time ago. But, you know, the last little bit of remnants of them holding on to the name is about to be snatched from them too, man. Watch them start saying that the name isn't Yahawah and YAHAWASHI. You know? Even though they used to call on the name in the past, man. And, you know, let's say they keep the name. Either way, they're not truly pushing the standard according to the name of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, man. Okay? But the Lord's going to take his name from them, man. He's already taken his spirit from them. You see? And these dudes, they really were set up from the foundation of the world to be in a lot that they're in right now. And they're going to be destroyed. All right? Hakah, Hassad, and anybody else in Genesis who want to follow in their footsteps, you are all going to be destroyed through the spirit and power of Yahweh, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. Okay? And the reason why we're getting on these guys is not personal. It's doctrine. It's business. Okay? And through the spirit and power of Yahweh, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, hey, it's personal on the Lord's behalf, man. All right? Because you're leading his sheep astray. The same sheep that he shed his precious blood for, you're leading them astray, man. All right? And and that's the thing. Guys think that we're just supposed to be in that happy-go-lucky spirit, that go along to get along spirit, that PC Israelite spirit. Nah, Yahawashi didn't move like that. Yahawashi wasn't having no unity camps with the scribes and Pharisees. He separated himself from them, man. Why? Because there was a divide according to the doctrine, man. Okay, and we got to move in the same type of fashion. As the scriptures say, mark them which cause divisions contrary to the doctrine and avoid them. You know, we're supposed to separate these guys from our company, man. Okay? We can't be out here, you know, pushing two different doctrines, man, through the spirit. We got to be on one accord, of one mind, of one mouth to give praises to the Lord. And these dudes are not doing that, man. All right? It says to Strong's G2590, Carpos. I'm continuing on because there's more definitions. Even though the point of this definition for the word fruit in this context is the work, act, deed, all right? Or it says that which originates or comes from something, an effect, result. So the effect, the result of these guys having them demonic spirits on them to sell out and to push false doctrines, you see that they're bringing forth and spewing out madness. And this is what the scripture means when it says, let no corrupt communication proceed forth out of thy mouth. It's not talking about not using profanity, so-called, right? Or you know, using so-called curse words or harsh speech. No, it's talking about false doctrines, man. Saying things are contrary to sound doctrine, okay? Which is what these guys are doing by saying how the Gentiles, the natural Gentiles, the heathen nations can be saved, man. When the scriptures say otherwise. So for you Jakes out there who are in Genesis, and if you can't see that these dudes are set up, that they're false prophets, the Lord clearly ain't dealing with you, man. All right? Clearly. You know? But this is what happens when the spirit of Yahweh Shai isn't upon these men. They start doing reprobate things. All right? And this is what happens when dudes despise the leadership that's set up through the spirit. You know, the Lord sets these leaders up for a reason. So the fact that Yahweh Shai set the apostles up is for a reason. And you're not rebelling against men. You're rebelling against the heavens. You're rebelling against Yahweh Shai because he set the order up to put the apostles in the position that they're in through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai placed them in the churches in this according position, man. All right? He set these leaders up. He set these men up and various other men of the Lord. So it will behoove us to get in line, get in order. Stop bucking up against the leadership that the Lord has sent forth, man. Because really, that's to your own demise. You see? But Jake think that this truth is like a worldly establishment, like a worldly business. Like, oh, we fell out, but I'm gonna set up my own thing. It don't work like that in this truth, man. All right? Because if it, like the scripture say, if the Lord didn't build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Roughly paraphrasing, man. So Yahawah Shai got to establish the building of a house that's being set up, man. And if his blessing isn't upon that house is built upon sand, like Yahawah Shai spoke about, which, Lord willing, we're going to read that. So it says, karpos, to gather fruit, i.e. a reaped harvest, into life eternal, as into a granary. It says, is used in figurative discourse of those who by their labors have fitted souls to obtain eternal life. But see, these guys are doing the opposite. It says granary, a storage building for grain. A granary, also known as a grain house, and historically a granarium in Latin, is a post-harvest storage building primarily for grains or seeds. Granaries are typically built above the ground to prevent spoilage and protect the stored grains or seeds from rodents, pests, floods, and adverse weather conditions. It says they also assist in drying the grains to prevent mold growth. But see, these guys, they're not laying up that fruit in that proper granary, man. They're laying up that fruit in a house built upon sand. And really, they have no fruit. All right, their fruit is already defiled because the tree is defiled. So I'm going to go back to Matthew chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7, in verse 16, ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. Okay? So, a good tree is going to bring forth good fruit, man. You know? But a corrupt tree, a tree that's tainted, you know, from the foundation, it ain't going to bring forth no good fruit. It's going to bring forth evil fruit, man. Because the tree itself is corrupted. It's just like there was a place in America called the Devil's Punch Bowl, right? And when you go into it, basically, when you go into the history of the Devil's Punch Bowl, it was a bunch of jakes who were so-called freed from slavery, right? And Esau set them up saying, hey, you know, okay, you're free from the slave plantation now, but you could come work here at the Devil's Punch Bowl, right? They didn't call it that at the time, but basically, basically set him up to work in the pit, and they set Jake up to where a lot of Jake ended up dying in that pit. But as time went on, people who lived in that area, who knew the history of the Devil's Punch Bowl, the trees in that area, I think the fruit that grown was a mango tree. And they said how the mangoes that grew from those trees, they look ripe and healthy. But the people were afraid to eat the mangoes from the trees because they knew what was in the soil. The dead Israelite bodies, man. That blood that was shed unjustly from those jakes, man. You know, who died under that soil, man, where them trees was growing up. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with these false prophets, man. They're building upon soil that's tainted, defiled. You know, and then you see the fruits that they're bringing forth with their false doctrines, man. Okay? And see, you know, we're not surprised that these guys are pushing these type of doctrines, you know, because they've been showing forth evil fruit. But really, this is just the icing on the cake. Really, this is just Yahawah Shai stamping their throughness, putting a stamp on that these dudes truly are not his, man. And see, Yahawah Shai, he's going to continue to do this more and more. He's going to continue to manifest who he's really dealing with and who he's not, man. All right? Because it's going to come to the point where the great divide is going to come when the CHIP gets implemented in society, man. That's when everybody's going to be forced to take a side. You know, and a lot of dudes who've been straggling along, right, who've been trying to act like they can skate under the radar, crept in unawares, a lot of these dudes, they're going to be forced to show their hand when the CHIP comes, man. All right? And you're going to see, and the Lord's going to separate the boys from the men, spiritually speaking. And you're going to see who's really about this life, all right, when it comes to serving the Lord, man. We're about to see real soon who's really about that life when it comes to serving the Lord, man. All right, because when Esau starts kicking in doors, when he starts hauling people off to their cribs, throwing them in the FEMA camps, for real, not no PC stuff with the ICE with the ice rays is just a prelude, man. This devil, he's about to go all out. He's about to really show how he really feels about you niggas, man. And guess what? The government's not going to be there to save you with your so-called amendments and rights and all that other bullshit that you really don't have. Like George Bush said himself, the Constitution is nothing but a goddamn piece of paper. You can look it up. George Bush said that, man. So it goes to show you that these devils, they don't believe in America. They don't believe in your so-called rights as a citizen of America. They don't believe in that shit. They're just putting up a facade, man. All right, to act like this is a God-fearing country, to act like this is the land of the free, home of the brave, man. Until the elites get everything in order and they get the paperwork together to where they can justify themselves to enslaving you, man, and making you a product of their new world order, which they already have. You know, but Esau, he works in gradualism because that's really how the Lord works. On the right hand and on the left hand side. And see, these people, they through. You had this dude just drive past in a Camaro with the top down, and he turned around, demonic as hell, and he just flicked me off with his middle finger. But that's cool. That's cool. The heavens recorded that. You know, and when that guy is in the midst of the face of death, okay, the Lord's gonna put that in his mind. You see, but that's how these people feel about the Lord. See, you ain't scoffing us. You scoffing YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI. We ain't even tripping on that. You know, we actually are thankful that you do that because you're just showing us that the Lord is dealing. Because the Lord told us that they would do that to the real prophets, man. Lord willing, we be a part of that elect number. So the water, all right? But your judgment's gonna come too in due season. But anyways, a lot of people are gonna be forced to pick a side. You know, but their side already has been chosen through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI. Okay? This is Matthew chapter 7 and verse 17. Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. Okay? And we're starting to see that the Lord really isn't with these dudes, man. Because we're seeing them through their fruits. I'm going to keep reading. Every tree, Matthew 7 and verse 18. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. You see? So this grace period that we're in is soon to come into a close, man. And see, this grace period is not a time to turn up, party, and drag your feet when it comes to serving YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI. This grace period is a time to get your shit together, man. You know? Think of the analogy with owing somebody money, you know, and this person is an austere person. This person ain't nobody to be played with. If you don't pay them their money, they're gonna make sure that you feel the penalty for that, right? And that person is YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI. And the money that he's requiring ultimately is your soul and your life to be geared towards righteousness. Which really, when you think about it, the Lord ain't asking for much, right? He's asking for something that you should already be inclined to do. But we understand that it's not written for everybody to do so, okay? However, the point of the matter is that YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI is like, okay, I ain't going to take your life today. I'm not going to require you to pay me back today. I'm going to give you a season to where you could work, you could build yourself up, you can get established, you can make that money back, and you could pay me in due season. Now, you got 3 servants. You got one who took it serious and said, okay, let me go and, you know, build. Because I know the Lord ain't playing, and he, you know, I know he want his money, so let me go and build and let me get right, let me get his money together so that when he comes to collect, I could pay him full and then some. Then you got another servant who's, you know, all right, whatever. We don't take it serious, and he don't build, you know, and he thinks shit is sweet, you know, and he'd be like, man, I wish the Lord would come try to get his money back. You got some niggas like that out there. Then you got a third servant who, at first, he was dragging his feet. He wasn't really sure if the Lord was serious or not, you know. Then he go through an experience where he like, hold on, the Lord ain't playing. I need to fucking get right. And yeah, you know, it may be a little procrastinated, but you know, best believe he's working his work to get that money together, man. So when the Lord comes back to collect, hey, the second dude who thought the Lord was a joke, hey, the Most High gonna make sure that, you know, he understands he wasn't playing. The first man that took it seriously gonna reward him, and the third man that, you know, was dragging his feet at first, but had to bump his head and realize that the Lord wasn't playing either, and got right, Lord gonna reward him too. You see, which servant are you? You know, through the Spirit. Okay, and that's not a parable in the scriptures, but through the Spirit you get the point, man. You know. So this grace period is not a time to be playing around. This grace period is a time to be understanding that, look, the Lord's giving us time to get built up in the Spirit. And how are you going to get built up in the Spirit? By tapping in, studying, reading, praying, fasting, doing the work, man. Staying connected with YAHAWASHI. You know what I mean? But you got a lot of people who think that the Lord is just a joke. They think the Lord ain't nobody to be taken seriously because he's merciful. He's long-suffering. But that's the furthest thing from the truth, man. The fact that the Lord is merciful and long-suffering should make you fear him even more. You see, because the Lord's not a hothead. He's not explosive and reactive. You know, he gives you time to correct your mistakes, man. And that's truly the one you need to fear. You know, the dude who's a hothead, he's predictable, man. But the one who knows how to rule his spirit and who can really fuck you up, but it's like, you know what? I'm gonna let you live. That's the one you need to be like, oh shit, I better not play with that man right there, because I know he ain't nobody to be played with. You see, because when he does let that steam off, hey, that's your ass, man. That's your ass, because you got to remember, all that pressure just been building. You know, just been building. You know what I mean? Like Yahawashi said, I have a long time holding my peace and refrain myself, man. All right? So when the time comes for salvation and judgment day, hey, all that wrath that's been building up over centuries that Yahawashi has had, ooh, Most High gonna let it rip. Okay, and the Lord's anger is gonna be in Yahawashi, man, on top of his own. And then he's gonna have that new body on top of it. So that anger is gonna be perfected in righteousness, and it's gonna come back with the power and the divine force of the heavens, man. Hell no, you don't want no problems with that, man. You don't want no problems with that, man. But it is written for some jakes to have the taste of that cup, man. Lord willing, we don't. You know, we know the Lord is terrible. That's why we're trying to get right now. Okay? Matthew chapter 7, verse 19. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. And that's what's going to happen to a lot of people who are not bringing forth good fruit, who ain't right. They're going to get cut off, man. And they're going to get thrown into that fire, which is the lake of fire, man. Which is the ICBM nuclear missiles that's going to hit America. It's not fucking, you know what I mean? And see, from back then, them dudes was off. Talking about the lake of fire over there in Basra. You know, the actual land of Basra. All right? And you know, it's shaped like a serpent. Get the fuck out of here, man. They've been bugging out. They've been bugging out, man. All right? You know? All them debates. Yet, you know what I mean? These dudes, man. Hey, but hey, it is what it is. You know? Matthew 7 and 20. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. Right, through the things that they bring forth, you're going to know them, man. You know, so like the saying goes, people tell you who they are, man. People tell you who they are. Even if they don't verbally say it. Yeah, I'm this type of person. I'm this type of way. You see it in the way that they behave themselves, man. All right, because a person's behavior, a person's actions shows you the type of person you're dealing with. Don't get too caught up on what somebody says about themselves, man. You know, or you know, yeah, I'm this way, I'm that way. Okay, that's cool. Okay, you know, but really, you got to take that with a grain of salt, because anybody could say anything, man. Anybody could sound the part, man. You got a lot of psychopaths who have learned emotions. Meaning these dudes really, behind the shell, these dudes are demons. They're walking demons, man. You know, cold-blooded killers. But through being integrated with society and social interaction and things of that nature, and having that calculated, detached, you know, persona about themselves, they'll see some horrific shit, or they'll see some depressing things and really feel no way about it, in truth. But because everybody else around them is sad or scared or feeling some type of way, they'll pick up on that, and then they'll act like they feel like that. But really they don't. And that's what these dudes are spiritually, man. They act like they're men of the Lord. They act like they believe in BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. They talk a good game, but their actions show the complete opposite, man. Really, and the Lord sees through all that, man. Okay? And not only does the Lord see through all that, but he's given his men, he's given his elect the spirit of discernment to see through all that as well, man. Okay? Matthew chapter 7, verse 21. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Right. Okay, so you may know the name, but at the end of the day, if you're not doing the will that comes behind the name, then it's to no avail, man. All right? Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Right, so Yahawashi, he sees through all that, man. The Lord knows who are his. All right? The Lord knows them who are his, man. So yeah, you may call on his name. Yeah, you may act like you down for the Lord. But like, and even the spirit realm knows who the Lords are. Okay, the demons know who the Lords are, man. Yahawashi I know, Paul I know, but who are you? Even the demons know. So, and that's one thing about it. The demons, they don't respond to words. They respond to spiritual authority, man. And that spiritual authority is given through believing on Yahweh, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. See, these y'all only Israelites, demons, they don't fear them. These believing in the other nations can be saved type Israelites, the demons don't fear them. These Israelites want to call on Christ and Jesus, the demons don't fear them, man. The demons fear those who truly and sincerely are believers in Yahweh, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, and who actually apply the words of the Lord, man. All right? Then the demons is like, yep, we see that one. That one, we got to watch him because the Lord is actually dealing with him, or the Lord is actually dealing with her. Or, nah, we can't touch that person. Yahawashi blood on that person, man. That person is anointed with the covering and the blessing of the Lord. So the demons know. So you can act like you're a man of the Lord. You can come out here, you can put a garment on, you can even be in the camp. You can act like you're, whole time the demons in the spirit realm looking at you like, look at this nigga, man. Where he get his garment from? Party City? He ordered that shit off Etsy? And I'm not saying if you get a garment off Etsy, you wicked, but I'm just making a joke, man. The point that I'm trying to make is that, the demons, they know, hey, this dude, he just acting. He acting. You know what I'm saying? They know, man. They'll sniff you out, man. That's one thing about it. Okay? And at the end of the day, while you there at camp with the garment on, the demon just sitting there waiting for you to finish acting like you a man of the Lord. And then as soon as the garments come off and it's time to go, the demon hop right back with your ass like, all right, let's go. Done acting like you a man of the Lord now, huh? And you and the demon just walking right back to wherever the fuck you gonna take your ass through the spirit. Go do some more wickedness in the dark and act like, brothers don't see you. That's the thing, man. Guys forget that the Lord is sovereign, man. Guys forget that the Lord reveals hidden things. Okay? Guys forget that Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI be putting his elect on game. So the Lord give a brother a dream about you. Open that hole in the wall like he did with our forefather Ezekiel, man. Let you see them hidden things, that folly that you're doing behind closed doors, man. And remember, a lot of the things that Ezekiel saw was from leaders in Israel. Not just regular Joe Schmo believers. And I'm not saying if you're a believer, you just a regular. Nah, if you're a believer in Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, you're the elect, you ain't regular. I don't give a damn if you're a teacher or not. If you believe on BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, and you're of the elect, you're not regular. Even if you are not in the camp, even if you aren't a teacher, you know, you ain't regular, bro. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, these guys weren't just no average dudes. They were actually leaders in the congregation. Yet, they were doing wickedness, man. They were doing wickedness. And it makes perfect sense, because a lot of times the dudes who are in a position be the ones the demons come for the most, man. Because it's that same concept of smite the shepherd and the sheep shall scatter. So if they can get the top dude, you know, a lot of times the men who are under him who are not stable, it's easy to sift them out too. Okay? So like the saying goes, heavy is the head that wears the crown. These demons are always trying to get the top guys, man. And a lot of the top guys, if they're not continuing to spiritually keep up with their maintenance, you know, keep up with their spiritual maintenance and do the things that's necessary to keep you in a position to be the top dude, hey, Satan gonna have a field day with you, man. And the worst part about it is you know better. You know better because you're in a position of leadership, man. So the judgment's gonna come down upon you that much greater, that much heavier, because you knew what you were supposed to be doing, man. But you didn't do it, you know? It's just like these different sports teams, these different athletes who are on the top of their game, who win championships, who are the top of their class. You don't ever see them dudes taking a day off, man. You don't ever see them dudes not training year round. You don't ever see them dudes not being a student of the game, man. Because they know that at that top position, every young rookie is trying to gun for their head, man. Every young rookie is trying to make them a highlight, man. You know? You got people who want to stunt on these top guys, man. So they can say, yeah, I made such and such break his ankles. Or, yeah, I dunked on this dude, you know. Or I intercepted a pick from this quarterback. You know what I mean? You know how dudes are. They want to make a name for themselves, man. Same thing with the demons, man. Lord, I told you, you know, he'll curse you to your face, Lord. Lord, I told you this dude wasn't really what he said he was, man. Don't think that it ain't no bet on your head in the spirit realm. Best believe there definitely is, man. So, you know, if you've been established in this thing, you've been in this thing for a long time, you know, you can never let your guard down. You can never let your guard down. And YAHAWASHI never let his guard down. YAHAWASHI, he was always on edge, man. He wasn't paranoid, but he wasn't lacking either. All right? You know, he was on point, man. The Lord was on point. Okay? And in order for you to be on point, you got to be in tune with the Spirit. Jake got to understand that our fruit, our profit, is to be tapped in with YAHAWASHI through the Holy Spirit. That's how you win as a man, as an Israelite man. That's how you win, by being with your connection source, YAHAWASHI. If not, you're not going to be equipped for the battle, bro. You're not. It is what it is, Jake. Stop trying to fucking build yourself up some other way besides the way that you know you ought to be built up. And that's with the Lord, man. You could be a mighty man. You can have a lot of money. You can get all the women, you know. But if you don't got YAHAWASHI as your shield and your help, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. And guess what? Demons are not afraid of your Draco. Okay? You can't pay a demon off to not fuck with you. You see? Demons don't look at you and be like, oh shit, he got 20-inch arms? God damn, that dude's swole. No, man. Demons don't give a shit about that. They don't give a fuck about that. They look at you and be like, okay. So, that shit doesn't move them, man. But when they see that you tapped in with the Lord, that's when they start showing that respect. That's when they start being like, okay, yeah, the Lord really dealing with this guy right here. You know? But Jake think that the Lord see how man sees. No, the Lord don't look on the hour. He look on the heart. He look on the spirit. He don't look on the flesh, man. Because you got guys who may not be of a great stature, but in the spirit, he pressure. Best believe that. Okay? Most High is not carnal like us in this flesh, man. You know? Muscles don't scare the Lord, man. Okay? Like Yahawashi said in John 7:24, judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment. All right? Nahum 1:7, the Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him. You see? So the Lord knows those who really trust in him. The Lord knows who are really down for him, man. You can't fake the funk with YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI, man. It don't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You know? Oh, man. Jake be killing me. All right? But, hey. It is what it is, man. That's why, you know, spiritually we have to learn to detach and see things for what they are and not for what we want them to be. Because if you don't want to work out your own salvation, if you don't want to do what you need to do in order to be saved, what can we do about it? You know, we all got to work out our own salvation, man. You know? And your relationship with the Lord is going to go as far as you let it. You know, of course, as far as YAHAWASHI let it in all reality. But, you know, you reap to the spirit, you're going to reap. You sow to the spirit, you're going to reap. All right, you sow to the flesh, you're going to reap. You know, you're going to reap what you sow. You're going to get out what you put in, man. Quick precept before I go back to Matthew 7, Lord willing. First Corinthians chapter 15. Verse 58. 1 Corinthians 15 and 58. It says, therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. For as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. Right. So just like our forefather Isaiah said, I have spent my strength for naught and in vain. You know, roughly paraphrasing. He said, yeah, my work is with the Lord. My reward is with my power. Roughly paraphrasing, man. So our work, every time we come out to the highways and byways, this ain't in vain. Every time you pick up the scriptures to read, it's not in vain. Every time you turn on the camera to do a lesson, you upload it, that's not in vain, man. You call a brother, check on him. You give a brother alms. You know, you go through hell. You catch, you go through the fire. You go through sufferings. That's not in vain, man. All right? The Lord is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love. You know, he's going to reward you, man. And really, we're not in it for the reward. We're not in it, you know, to get multiple wives or, you know what I'm saying, to consume and reap the benefits that come with being in the spirit upon our lust. We're in it because we truly love the Lord, man. Because we fear him. You know, we want to do right by YAHAWASHI. That's why we're in this truth. Because we love YAHAWASHI. We're grateful for what the Lord has done for us. We're not in this truth to fucking get women. We're not in this truth, you know what I'm saying, to do anything else but sincerely serve the Lord. But, you know, we're going to be grateful when these different benefits get fulfilled in their season, Lord willing. If we be a part of that elect number. You know, of course we want new bodies. Of course we want spiritual power. Of course we want multiple wives. Of course we want the kingdom, salvation. You know what I'm saying? But our main driving factor is that we love the Lord, man, and we fear him. We want to do right by him, man. Okay? Because you got a lot of guys who come into this truth for the wrong reason. You got a lot of guys who come into this truth because they thinking that they could get something out of it. Or that they can exploit this truth and use it for something that is truly not to be used for, man. But see, the Lord sees through you, man. The Lord sees through you, man. If you're in this thing because oh man, I'm trying to get Isaiah 4:1, you know, or oh man, you know, I want to be in this truth because I want to be the man. I want to be looked at. I want to be lauded and this, that, and the third and da-da-da-da-da. You don't understand what you're involved in, man. You think YAHAWASHI died so that you could be in this truth to fucking flex? No. You know? That shit ain't right. That shit ain't right, man. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier through the Spirit, and the scriptures say this, the Lord is about to show who's really down for him and who's not, man. Because of Jake, who came in this thing for the wrong reasons, he gonna fold for the wrong reasons. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. A Jake who came into this truth for the wrong reason, he gonna fold for the wrong reason, man. When all hell breaks loose, you gonna start to see what type of, man, the Lord about to put all of us through the fire, man. That's what Jake don't understand. The Most High about to put the furnace on our character, man. And really, he already does it. He does it every day. But it's about to get so real to the point where you might go a couple days without eating in Jacob's trouble. Are you still gonna believe? You might die. Are you still gonna believe? You might get separated from your family, from brothers. Are you still gonna believe, man? Are you still gonna show the Lord that you love him? You know? Same thing with your woman. You know what I'm saying? You got those you had those TV shows back in the day where they would hire somebody, where they would hire a man with an earpiece to go and flirt with another dude's woman to see if she was loyal or not. And guess what? He come up speaking the right game. He come up with a nice car, come up with the jewelry, the money, you know. And sure enough, a lot of them folded, man. All right. Or you got those videos where the dude, he be talking to a man and his woman. He got the microphone. He's like, "Oh, okay. Are you guys loyal to each other? You guys love each other?" Of course they say, "Yeah, of course. I love him. Blah, 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 blah. We've been together for such and such." He's like, "Okay, switch phones with each other." And then the woman get to acting weird. She's like, "What? Switch phones? Why? Why do I need to switch phones?" Da-da-da-da-da. And the dude, a lot of times the dude be ready. He'd be like, "Yeah, go ahead, look through my phone, man." Which there's nothing wrong with another man dealing with another woman, as long as she doesn't have another man, right? If the woman is so-called single and a man deals with her if he already got a woman, there's nothing wrong with that. But anyways, a lot of times the woman be like, "Nah, I don't want to switch my phone," or "Nah, you can't look through my phone." Why not, bitch? Why not? All of a sudden now the fire's on your character. Why? You know? But you got a woman who would be like, "Yeah, go ahead, look through my phone." You know? And she's not saying that because she was already deleting everything that needed to be deleted. No, she's saying that because she truly moving with integrity. That's the woman that's like, "Okay, yeah, I fuck with her. She approved." Because she got put through the fire. She got put through the test, and she loyal. She actually is down for this man. She's not a thought. You know? So the Lord is proving that with us. You know what I'm saying? And you can't take it personal when YAHAWASHI put you through the fire. Because really, a lot of times, the Lord, all the time rather, the Lord already knows you love him. The Lord already knows you give a fuck. The Lord already knows that you sincerely are seeking his face, that you want his mercy. The Lord knows that already. But you got to know that he knows. You got to know that the Lord is dealing with you. So you can see it for yourself. I remember the brother Yeshai used to always say this. He'd be like, "I already know he ain't right." Brother Yeshai used to always say, he'd be like, "Man, I already know that dude ain't right." He's like, "But y'all got to see it." You know what I mean? Y'all got to see it for yourselves. And that's the truth. So, Lord already know, man. I already know that's my servant. Yeah, that's my man's. Yeah, I love him. Yeah, he loved me too. I remember when he did this. I remember when he did that. I remember when he suffered in this season of his life. And I was right there with him, strengthening him. That's my man's right there. Oh, yeah. I know such and such. Right? Or I know her. Yes, that's a virtuous woman. I know her for sure, for sure. She's done many alms deeds for the churches. She's been a great help. She cooked for the brothers every week. This, that, and the third. She making garments. She's sending brothers gifts. I know that woman. She's blessed in the heavens. She's favored. You know? But you got to know it too for yourself, man. You got to know that YAHAWASHI is dealing with you. The Lord got to confirm you, man, for your own walk. And then once you start to know that the Lord is really dealing with you, and forgive me, I know I'm rambling, but it's all through the Spirit, you know? Once you start to know that the Lord is really dealing with you, now you start to really walk different in the Spirit, man. Because you're like, okay, yeah. You know? But forgive me. Forgive me. Let me get back to the scriptures, man. Okay? Matthew chapter 7, verse 20. Wherefore by their fruits you shall know them. Verse 21. I read this already. I'll read it again. Not everyone that saith unto me, you know what? I'm going to skip it. Forgive me. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 24. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. Right. So that's the confirmation that you're truly built upon the foundation of YAHAWASHI. That YAHAWASHI is truly dealing with you. Going through the tribulations, going through the winds, the fire. You see? That's a sign, yeah, the Lord is really dealing with you because he put you to the test and you passed. You see? And he gave you the answers to the test. He gave you the spirit to withstand the fire, to not get burnt in the furnace, man. To be refined and come forth as gold. The Lord got to give you that. You are not going to beat Satan on your own. You are never going to beat Satan on your own, man. All right? Eventually, Satan going to catch you slipping. But if the Lord is with you, that's the only way you'll truly be able to overcome Satan, man. For a prolonged period of time. Because Satan is very patient. He's got the time. So, he may tempt you once, tempt you twice, tempt you 3 times. You may deny it. But you get you get tired that 4th time around. Satan gonna be like, all right, let me try him again. And you fold, you know, it's because you was leaning on your own strength. You was leaning on your own strength. You weren't relying on the Lord to deliver you from these demons, man. Your house wasn't being built upon that rock. And what constitutes a man's house being built upon the rock? By you hearing the words of the Lord and not just hearing them, but doing them. All right? That's why Yahawashi said, a man that heareth my words and doeth them, he shall be likened unto a wise man. Because you got a lot of people, they'll hear the word. You got a lot of people, they'll sit there, they'll sit in front of the brothers, they'll listen to the camp, they'll say, yeah, great sermon, and, you know, yes, this was a great lesson. You guys are doing great, you know, give you all the cheer and all the praise, right? And they may even be sincere. But when it comes time to really put these things in action, then we're going to see how much they was really listening, man. You know? We're going to see how much you was really listening in that day. You know what I mean? So, anyways, Matthew chapter 7 and verse 26, and everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Why? Because that house was not built upon the foundation of BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. You got to watch how you building this thing, man. Okay? It's just like in the construction world. Shalom to the like tuning in. Yabashim Shabrakata. Yabashim Shabrakatam. It's just like in the construction world. You got to build according to code. Or else when inspection comes, they're not going to approve you, man. So in this truth, you got to build according to the code book, which is these scriptures, man. So that you could be approved in the spirit, man. And the Lord can confirm you. You know? And it ain't about man confirming you. You know what I mean? It's about if Yahawah Shai confirm you. You know? If the Lord gives you that spiritual signet, that stamp of approval, that's when you're approved, man. Okay? Job chapter 18, starting at verse 11. Can the rush grow up without mire? Can the flag grow without water? So you won't be able to grow unless you're being watered by the Spirit. Unless you're being nurtured and sustained by the Spirit. Verse 12. While it is yet in his greenness and not cut down, it withereth before any other herb. Right. It says, so are the paths of all that forget Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, and the hypocrite's hope shall perish. whose hope shall be cut off, and whose trust shall be a spider's web. He shall lean upon his house, but it shall not stand. He shall hold it fast, but it shall not endure. All right? He is green before the sun, and his branch shooteth forth in his garden. His roots are wrapped about the heap, and seeth the place of the stones. Just like Yahawashi spoke about the seed sown amongst the stones. It shoots up quickly, but through persecution, by and by, he is offended. He hath no root. He gets withered away, man. So you got to be rooted in this thing, man. You got to have that spirit where you're like, man, I don't give a fuck what gets thrown my way. I am not going to stop serving the Lord. I am not going to give up my faith in YAHAWASHI. I don't give a damn what happens to me, man. Even if I got to die, I'm still going to be serving YAHAWASHI, cleaving unto him. Lord willing. That's the mindset. That's the mentality. Now, whether you actually live that or not is up to YAHAWASHI. That's why we say Lord willing. You know, because anybody can say, man, Lord, I'm going to do this. Lord, I'm going to do that. Think about the Apostle Peter, you know, which that was spiritual, right? And he's still of the elect, you know. But nonetheless, he was saying, man, Lord, I'm going to follow you to death into prison, right? He said, I'll never be offended in you. And, you know, he technically wasn't. But Yahawashi was like, oh, really? He said, man, before the cock crow, you're going to deny me thrice. He said, man, Lord, I ain't going to do that. You know what I mean? He was like, man, Lord, shit, even if I die, I ain't going to deny you, you know? But he did, though, you know? Which really, when you think about that, what can we learn from that experience? Hey, what we can learn from that experience is, hey, we got to stay humble. We got to, you know, say Lord willing. We got to move in a spirit where it's like, that's the hope, that's the mindset. But the Lord actually give us the spirit to really live like that, man. Because a lot of times when you tell the Lord you're going to do something, Most High make sure your ass don't do it, man. All right? A lot of times. Sometimes the Most High allow you to do it because, you know, it's his will. But a lot of times when you're just speaking as a man and you puffing your chest, man, I'm this, I'm that, I'm da 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 da. Most High like, okay, nigga, we gonna see. We gonna see. I ain't hear not one Lord willing. He ain't said Lord willing not once. Okay. We're gonna see if he really like that. All right? There's a saying amongst Jake. A lot of Jake say, if you want to make the Most High laugh, tell him your plans. You know? There's a saying amongst Jake, man. Because they know, hey, at the end of the day, you ain't gonna do shit the Lord don't ordain you to do, man. All right? And that's the fact of the matter. Okay? And a lot of times you can say, man, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And most likely going to make sure your ass do it. Or you say, man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Lord, make sure you don't do it, man. That he may hide pride from man, as the scriptures say, man. You know? He seals your instructions. So that's why we got to constantly say, hey, Lord willing. You know? Lord willing. Okay? Because really, you not saying Lord willing is pride. You know, because that's basically you saying, man, I'm in control of my own life. I do what I want. You know, that's basically what you're saying. When you don't say Lord willing, that's basically what you're saying, man. That is your will and not his. And we know that that's not the case. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 23. Oh Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. You see? So the way of man is not in himself, man. You're only doing what the Lord put the Spirit on you to do. And that's the facts. You didn't do it on your own. You're not doing it because you're so high and mighty. You're doing it because the Lord needs you to fulfill his will concerning your life, you know, in that particular matter. Everything we got, man, YAHAWASHI set it up for us to have it, man. So can't none of us, you know, puff our chest like we somebody. I'll be the first to say it. I ain't shit. I ain't shit, man. But with YAHAWASHI, that's what makes me special. Because his spirit is within us. Not because of my own strength or who I am or whatever the fuck I bring to the table. I only brought it to the table because the Lord gave it to me. You know? And I have no shame in saying that. You know what I mean? But that's the type of spirit we need to be in. You know, not to exalt myself, but that's the type of spirit we need to be in. YAHAWASHI said, they that are whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. All right? You got to know you sick, man. How you gonna go to the doctor and get healed if you're too proud to tell the doctor that you ain't feeling good, that you in bad shape? Oh man, nah, I don't need no surgery, man. Nigga, your fucking arm socket is out of place. Nigga, your finger dangling off your fucking hand. Nigga, your face sliced open. What you mean you don't need no surgery, nigga? But a lot of Jake too proud to admit that, you know, hey, bro, just chill. We all know you in the flesh. It's okay, bro. You in the flesh, bro. You know? But a lot of Jake be like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm good, bro. Okay. You got it. You got it. Even though you dangling, limping down the street and shit. Fucking ankle dangling across the street. But you good, though. You good. But that's just pride. And pride is going to be the downfall of a lot of people. A lot of people. A lot of people are very proud and they don't even know that they proud, man. You know? And there's levels to pride. Okay? You know? There's levels to pride, man. All right? Anyways, 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Oh no, that might not be it. Let me see if I can find it. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 4. 1 Corinthians chapter 4. And 6. And these things, brethren, I have in a figure transferred to myself and to Apollos for your sakes, that ye might learn in us not to think of men above that which is written, that no one of you be puffed up for one against another. Right. So we can't think above ourselves. We can't think of ourselves above that which is written, man. You know, we can't get too high and mighty or ahead of ourselves and think that we just so great. We're only doing what we're doing because of the strength of the Lord, putting the strength in us to move the way we're moving, man. This flesh is not as strong as you think. This flesh is weak. This flesh is weak as hell. Okay? YAHAWASHI said it, the spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Pray ye that ye enter not into temptation. So you got to be praying to the Lord to strengthen you. You got to be praying to the Lord to protect you from Satan, man. Because we can't do it on our own, and it wasn't set up that way. You see? It wasn't set up that way. Our defense is from the Lord. Our strength is from the Lord. See, the Lord, you know, you got different wild animals out there. A lot of these wild animals, they have different tools built within their bodies to help them defend themselves and help them sustain themselves, man. So our tool is our spiritual connection with the Lord, so to speak. That's our defense. Those are our claws. Those are our teeth. Those are our spikes like a porcupine. You know what I mean? You get the point. You know? That's our camouflage. Those are our wings so we can fly away. You know what I mean? It's our connection with the Lord. That's the way the Lord set us up. You see? And that's why we got to be in our order as men. You know, because when we're not serving YAHAWASHI like we should be doing, we're not in our proper order. We're not in our proper purpose that we've been created. We've been created to be made in his image. So how you going to be created to be made in the image of YAHAWASHI, yet you don't seek YAHAWASHI? Now you're living a life of vanity. Now your life is void of meaning. Okay? Through the spirit. You know? We're going to see what type of spirit these dudes come in. They look like they were scoffing. These dudes who just pulled up. We're going to see. It's cool. We ain't tripping on them though. But we got to be circumspect. All right? This 1 Corinthians chapter 4.
Jesus is king.
What makes you say that?
Jesus is king.
What's his name?
Jesus.
What year was that letter made?
Jesus.
What year?
King.
You don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I bet you I do.
Come on, tell me.
What year was the letter J created?
What year was the letter J created?
Yep.
How does that even pretend to anything?
Answer the question.
But that doesn't pretend to anything.
Answer the question.
Dude, why would I even care about that?
Okay, what's your name?
Chris.
So if I said, hey, Chris, you supposedly walked the earth over 2,000 years ago, right? But the letter C didn't exist when you walked the earth. Is Chris really your name?
What? Dude, listen, it just sounds like you're just trying to spread a whole bunch of misinformation. And the reality of it is that Jesus is king. That's it. There's more.
I got nothing else to say, man.
So what are you trying to spread?
I got nothing else to say. You got it.
So what are you trying to spread?
You got it. Can you answer my question?
No, I don't want it. I don't care to answer that.
Then we don't got to talk.
Well, what are you trying to spread here?
You good, bro. Go do your thing.
So what's your whole religion? What is this?
You got it.
So are you Muslim? Are you
We're Israelites.
Israel?
We're Israelites.
So are you Jewish?
We are the real Jews.
Israelites are the real Jews, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where are you from?
So so what do you believe? Do you believe that Jesus is a disciple, or what do you believe?
Where are you from?
What do you mean where I'm from?
Like, what's your ethnicity?
I'm Puerto Rican, Costa Rican, Italian.
What's your dad?
My dad? Puerto Rican.
Okay.
Italian.
Okay, so then you will be an Israelite too. You will be of the tribe
Wait,
of...
so you're telling me that white people can't be Israelites?
It's not about skin color. It's about your nationality. You can have...
Okay, hold on, okay, you're good. Bro, there's a lot of people like you that say that skin color matters. They say that the white people should have been enslaved, and they say that, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I disagree with them.
Okay, then I'm cool with you, bro. I thought you were one of those people that say black people are superior to white people, and that white people should have been enslaved. They enslaved us, and this and that. So it's a total different bargain. So I came off on the wrong foot, though. I appreciate what you're doing here, though. No problem.
But his name is not Jesus.
So what was his name?
His name is YAHAWASHI.
That is the Hebrew version of his name.
That's the real version of his name.
So you're saying that's the real version of his name. That's like saying English is not real and Hebrew is real. Both different languages. No, people in Asia say his name differently as well.
Well, think about it like this. If you go to China and somebody asks you, what's your name? Your name is still Chris in China. Your name is still Chris in Russia. Your name is still Chris in Puerto Rico. Your name is still Chris in America. So your name is your name. Yeah, other languages may have a translation of your name, but your specific name is your specific name. So, point of the matter is that YAHAWASHI is the true name of the Lord. And that's why I asked you, I said, what year was the letter J created? Because when we get to the nitty gritty of things, the letter J wasn't on the earth. It didn't exist when the Lord walked the earth over 2,000 years ago. So the letter J was created in 1524 by a man named Jean Trissino. And the reason why the letter J was created was because of, they wanted to, like when they were making the English alphabet, they wanted to find the letter that was interchangeable with the letter I and the letter Y. So a lot of times certain English words, when you go back to the original language, it'll have an I or a Y, like Joshua. Joshua has a J, but in the Hebrew, Joshua really is YAHAWASHI. Or Isaiah. Isaiah has an I, but in the Hebrew it's Yeshaya. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So the point that I'm trying to make is that the reason why I asked you that question and why it was important was because that if the Lord walked the earth over 2,000 years ago, and the letter J didn't exist when he walked the earth, how could Jesus have been his name? You get what I'm saying?
I can appreciate that. I'm not knowledgeable enough as you are, so I can appreciate that. And I get the point. That's a good point, man. That's all. I appreciate the talk back. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. My name is Ottawa, but my name don't matter, you know? His name matters. You too. All right, that's the spirit, man. You know, hey, man, I ain't tripping. You know, really through the spirit, the YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI for giving us our apostles and elders, all right, and different brothers to help get us sharp in the knowledge to where, you know what I'm saying, we could battle, spiritually speaking, you know, and you know, at the end of the day, at first, I was coming off like a lion to Jake because I wanted to see what type of energy he was coming in. But once he started to humble down, I started to humble down, you know, through the spirit. Because at the end of the day, we here to teach. We're not here to be assholes. But at first, I was just going to be stiff-necked and be like, man, go up the street. But the spirit was like, deal. So, you know, we dealt. And at the end of the day, see, we do that through the spirit to convince the gainsayers. Because he thought I was coming in that spirit of a lot of these other false prophets. You know, like this is a skin color thing. But this ain't a skin color thing, man. You know, because even he had a Jake back there with him. You know, which his ass, he was a demon. But he was wise because he kept his mouth shut. But that Jake back there with him, he looked like a Jake. But, you know, he wasn't your darkest typical Jake. You know what I mean? He wasn't a dark-skinned Jake. He looked like somebody who's unlearned would say, yeah, he an Edomite, because he don't look like a typical Jake. But you knew through the spirit he was a Jake if you guys seen him back there with him, the dude in the black shirt. But we see the real men of the Lord know this isn't a skin color thing, man. All right? You know, there's some prophecy YAHAWASHI out there that look like Edomites, man. But those are men of the Lord, and they hitters in the spirit, man. They hitters in the spirit. And I'm sure the brother probably don't want me to shout him out, but like the Apostle Paul said, give credit to whom credit is due. But you got the brother Malachi from Nashville, GMS Nashville, and them Nashville brothers, man, them brothers solid, man, through the spirit. You know, those are indeed men of the Lord, man. But you got the brother Malachi from Nashville. He don't look like your typical Israelite, but best believe that's a man of the Lord right there. I believe through the spirit. I really want to say I know through the spirit that's a man of the Lord, and I ain't trying to be, you know, puffing smoke or blowing the brother up. But from the fruits that I've seen from that brother, man, that is a sincere man of YAHAWASHI indeed, man. You know, the Lord's definitely dealing with that brother. So, you know, I mean, and then apostles, they did this years ago, where they had a bunch of brothers who look like Israelite foreigners, which technically we're all Israelite foreigners because we all grew up foreign to the customs of Israel, and we all grew up outside of Israel in a strange land here in America. So yeah, we may be dark-skinned, but we're technically still Israelite foreigners. However, you know, according to the term that we use, right? The apostles, they sent out the order for brothers to make videos to Vocab saying, hey, Vocab, am I a black Hebrew Israelite? All right, because, you know, you got to understand that this isn't a black thing. All right. So, you know, it is what it is. That Jake, he ended up coming one way, and he admitted it. He's like, I got off on the wrong foot. It's cool. It's cool. But see, through the spirit, this is exactly what I spoke about last night in my lesson. Spiritual warfare can happen at any given moment, and you got to be ready to deal. You got to be ready to deal. And see, really, that was a light thing. You know, that was a light thing. And I'm not saying that out of pride. I'm really not. You know what I mean? But you see how you don't need to be deep and fucking, you know, the most prolific brother. But you got to spiritually know the basics, man. You know what I'm saying? So that you could battle. Because most people don't know how to spiritually battle, man. They're not equipped. And I'm not shitting on that guy. I'm just speaking facts. It's just like in a street fight. A lot of people out here don't know how to fight. Yeah, they act hard and they act like they tough and this, that, and the third. But when it really comes down to it, a lot of times, most of the time, I'm going to say 70, 80% of the time, you don't need to be sharp. You just got to know the basics, and you'll be able to defend yourself, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to know the basics. If you know basic martial arts, and you actually are sharp with the basics, a lot of times you'll win a street fight, man. You know, because a lot of people don't know how to fight. How much more in the spirit realm, man? You know? Yeah, the term is colloquially. Colloquially. It says, in the language of ordinary or familiar conversation, informally. Right, so colloquially, we use the term Israelite foreigner, talking about a brother or, you know, a Jake who don't look like your typical Israelite, you know, but we understand that, you know, we all technically Israelite foreigners. But nonetheless, you see how through the Spirit, YAHAWASHI, he has given us real leaders, man. All right, so that we're trained up in the ways of the Lord. We're trained up in the ways of YAHAWASHI so that we could teach and deal, and we don't gotta go deep. We just hit them one question. And like the brother Bar said, you keep that jab in their face, man. You know, and even with the boxing stuff, a lot of boxers are sharp, you know, they fast and shit. But a lot of the greats, they don't really do nothing prolific. They have the ability to do so, and when the time calls for it, they're able to go into their bag of tricks, so to speak, and, you know. But you watch Floyd, yeah, he got his Philly shell and shit, but Floyd really keep it basic, man. But he just does the basics very fucking well. So, you know, put that jab out there. Boom, hit him with the jab. Okay, move around. Boom, boom, hit him with the jab again. Move around. Boom, boom, right hand. Hit him with the, ooh, right hand. You know, it's like he ain't really doing nothing too extra. So it's the same thing with these spiritual battles. When people come up on that bullshit, you ain't got to do nothing extra, man. But the point has been made. You get the point, man, you know. But that's how it be when you get into a spiritual altercation. You gotta talk about the war story after, man. You know, your spirit gotta calm down a little bit. That shit funny. But it's cool, though. But we can't be puffed up because the Lord gave us our apostles to teach us how to deal. See, our apostles, man, the Lord put the Spirit on them to really equip us for the day of battle, man. Through the Spirit power, YAHAWASHI. You know? Anyways. Let me go back to 1 Corinthians. You know what? Let me skip gears. Let me skip gears, man. Switch gears, rather. Okay, here's a prophetic article from End Time Headlines. endtimeheadlines.org. It says, anti-corruption protests descends into chaos as thousands of Gen Z demonstrators storm National Palace in Mexico City. And this is from November 16th, 2025. So it says, rioters stormed the barricades outside the presidential palace in Mexico City as an anti-cartel protest descended into chaos. And what does this show? Uproars of the people. This is a sign that we're at the end. Okay, and before I continue on the article, let me grab the scripture. Second Ezra chapter 9, verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Okay? So, we got to measure the time diligently within itself, and we bring these precepts out often. Why? Because we're in these times. These scriptures are jumping off the pages because we're living in these times. These things that were written thousands of years ago, We're living them right now in real life time, man. Okay, so that's why these scriptures keep constantly coming out. Because you got some jakes that say, man, I heard that already. I heard that already. Man, you got to get out of that spirit, man. You got to get out that spirit. Because if you got a favorite song, you don't mind hearing that song 10 times. You know? But Jake just always want to hear something new. But that's low-key an insatiable spirit when you think about it. You always want something new to tickle your fancy. Like the scripture say, the eye is not satisfied with seeing. The ear is not satisfying with hearing. And that's just how the flesh works. The flesh never satisfied, man. There's never enough with this flesh, man. You always need something. You know? You always need something. All right? Verse 2, 2 Ezra 9 and 2. Then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So we know we're at the end. We know Yahawashi is getting ready to visit this place. All right? And they gonna see that his name ain't Jesus in that day. They gonna see Jesus ain't really who they thought he was. when Yahawashi cracked them clouds, man. And they gonna see a so-called black man with white woolly hair jump out that father ship, fucking wreak havoc on this place, man, in righteousness. Motherfuckers gonna see the Lord in that day, and they gonna know his name ain't Jesus, and they gonna know he ain't no Edomite looking devil. They gonna know in that day, man. Like the scripture say in the book of Isaiah, that which hath been told them. All right, let me read it. He shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell upon the earth. Isaiah chapter 52. And 13, behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. And that's Yahawashi. It says, as many were astonished at thee, his vices were so marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. Yeah, and that's what happened to Yahawashi when he was, when he died on the cross. You know, the Lord was marred more than any man. His face all cut up, bloody, back beaten. You know, they basically beat him an inch away from his life. Then they forced him to carry the cross. You know, the heavy cross weighing well over 100 pounds. You know what I mean? Then he had to get the nails driven in his wrists and in his feet. They pierced his side after he died. You know, he was marred more than any man. Yahawashi tasted the greatest suffering of all mankind. You know, and there's going to be a high holy day in the kingdom where we're all going to see Yahawashi's body. He's going to show the form of his body when he was on the cross. Because Yahawashi can do that. He can change his appearance. You know, he doesn't just have that one, which is low-key a secret, but he doesn't just have that one glorified form of the white woolly hair with the glowing eyes. You know, the Lord's able to change his appearance, man. You know? But when he revealed himself to John the Revelator, it was written how he looked, because that's him in his glorified form. You know, that's him in his final form, so to speak, man. You know? But in the kingdom, he's going to show the form of him as a lamb. And we're all going to mourn Yahawashi in that day. And I'll grab the scripture. And somebody might say, what you mean Yahawashi got multiple forms? Remember, when Yahawashi got off the cross and he was resurrected and he revealed himself to his disciples, at first, a lot of them didn't recognize him, man. You know? They didn't recognize him because they wasn't used to seeing him in that form. But then he opened up their eyes in the spirit and they were able to tell, oh shit, that's the Lord, man. That's Yahawashi. You know? And we as men, we can change our appearance. We can be unrecognizable to people at times. How much more, you know, the Lord? Okay? With that spiritual power. You know? It ain't nothing for the Lord to change how you perceive him. Anyways, Zechariah chapter 12. And I'll start at verse 9. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. And we're leading up to these times now, where YAHAWASHI is destroying those that come up against his elect and this truth, man. Okay? You know? Verse 10, and I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. Yeah. So there's going to be a high holy day in the kingdom where we're going to mourn for YAHAWASHI, man. He's going to show us his body that he had on that cross, and we're going to mourn for him. You know? Like how you would mourn for your first son. You know? Somebody do damage and harm to your son, man, and kill him. You know? So that's how we're going to be mourning for the Lord in that day. And this is going to be in the kingdom. Zechariah 12 and 11. In that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadadrimon in the valley of Megiddon. And the land shall mourn every family apart, the family of the house of David apart, and their wives apart. The family of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives apart. The family of the house of Levi apart, and their wives apart. The family of Shammai apart, and their wives apart. All the families that remain, every family apart, and their wives apart. You see, so meaning we're all going to be working out our own salvation. We're all going to be having that one-on-one moment of us mourning for the Lord, man. You know? Us, our children, our wives, every Israelite in that day on a one-on-one basis is going to mourn for YAHAWASHI, man. You know? And depending on how your story is written, you know, some people are going to mourn harder than others. Hey, we all going to mourn, though. Don't get it twisted, but some people going to be like, man, damn. You know? So it's going to hurt. So some people, it's going to really sting. It's going to really sting, man. Because some people got different history with YAHAWASHI. Even Judas Iscariot in that day, he might be mourning the hardest. Who knows? You know, I'm speculating now. But anyways, let's get back to the other precept. All right? Isaiah chapter 52, verse 15, it says, so shall he sprinkle many nations. The kings shall shut their mouths at him. For that which had not been told them shall they see, and that which they had not heard shall they consider. Right? So when it says he's going to sprinkle many nations, and really in the spirit, that starts with how he sprinkled his blood over the nation of Israel. And Israel is likened unto many nations because there's 12 tribes within the one nation Israel. All right? But also, okay, he's going to sprinkle many nations because he's going to come back to shed blood as well. So that could be twofold. You see? But the point of the matter is that when you go into the word sprinkle, it's talking about the sprinkling of blood for an atonement, like on the altar. You see? When you go into the word sprinkle. And that's exactly what he did. His blood was sprinkled. His blood was shed for our atonement, for our propitiation as the nation of Israel, man. Okay? So that we can be forgiven for our sins. Because remember, he was the Lamb of the Most High to take away the sin of the world. That world represented the nation of Israel, man. So YAHAWASHI took away our sins. Even the sin of that Jake that came up earlier, YAHAWASHI died for him too. You know? And that's the thing with a lot of our people is that we rather you understand. We rather you repent. We rather you get it and lay hold on this truth, man. You know, and the Jake eventually he humbled down. You know, so I don't got no ill will towards him. If he's sincere, may the Lord have mercy on him. But at the end of the day, hey, all Israel gonna be all right in the kingdom, man. You know, so it ain't really nothing personal with us, man. It's just business. You come through on some bullshit, we gonna have to defend the gospel, you know? It is what it is, man. We like the Lord's spiritual Belgian Malinois. You know? Lord tell us sit, we sit. Lord tell us bite, we bite. Okay? Lord tell us go, we go. Alright? You know, you get the point. You know, we trained spiritual warriors, man. Okay? And when it's time to pull the swords out, best believe they coming out. And when the Lord tell us to sheath them, we gonna sheath them. Okay? And that's just what it is, man. You know, that's just what it is. All right. And as the saying goes, there's a quote in the martial arts world. It says, in order for a man, I'm roughly paraphrasing it, but it says, in order for a man to be an effective warrior, he cannot feel for his enemy. All right. So you got to know, hey, when it comes to this truth, it's business, bro. Even if your mama scoffing, you got to be like, hey, mama, you tripping. You know, you can't be no respected persons in this thing, man. You got to learn how to detach and remain attached to your reverence for YAHAWASHI alone. You know, and that goes back to the law. Even the law says if your brother worshiping idols, you're supposed to be the first one to put your hand on him and put him to death, man. Your child being wicked, you're supposed to be the first one to put your hand on him and put him to death, man. You see, our loyalty has to be measured, man. It's not that we don't love you. It's not that we don't care about our people, but, hey, we love the Lord more. And that's how we're supposed to move. That's how all Israel's supposed to move, man. Really. You know, that's what happened with the tribe of Benjamin. The Lord almost completely wiped out the entire tribe of Benjamin because they wanted to be loyal to a couple wicked men instead of giving them up and putting those men to death like they was rightfully supposed to do. But that's the type of spirit Benjamin, you know, a lot of tribes got certain ways about them. Benjamin, you know, a lot of times their loyalty run a little too deep, you know, to where it could backfire against them, man, if they don't know how to set a standard, so to speak, man. And I know, because I'm a Benjamite myself. But sometimes Benjamin be a little too loyal, you know. But hey, it's all through the spirit. But when Yahweh shall return, hey, they gonna see, oh shit, we wasn't expecting to see him like that. But I'm gonna go back to 2 Ezra 9, because I had the article. See, that's how the spirit works sometimes, you know. 2 Ezra 9, verse 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So everything that we're reading about, these things have already been written from the foundation of the earth, man. All right? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. Getting dark out here. All right? So, and it makes me wonder, why is the people protesting against the government, against the cartels, man? Because a lot of them cartels really are agents. A lot of those cartel members, they really work for Esau, man. Just like Genesis. I'm being funny now. But anyways, yeah, a lot of them dudes is agents, man. And the drug game, Esau making money off that shit. You think Trump really gives a fuck about the drug war? Or any of these motherfuckers for that matter? No. They don't give a damn about the people and them taking drugs. If there's anybody they care about not taking them drugs, it's their own people. But they don't give a shit if Jake strung out on, you know, crack and all this other bullshit. What's that shit called? Fentanyl and all that other shit. Trump don't give a fuck about that. He wants you niggas to be strung out on that type of stuff, man. He wants Jake to fucking be addicted to vices and shit. So it's easier to control you. So your spiritual defenses are down. Because that's what Jake don't realize. Or maybe they do. But a lot of times Jake don't. Because they so caught up on the pleasure that comes from it. A lot of stuff that you're so hell-bent on getting pleasure from, a lot of that spiritually weakens your immune system, spiritually speaking. Or a lot of that weakens your defense in the spirit realm. So your drug addiction, your, you know, whatever type of addiction that is sowing seeds to the flesh, a lot of times behind that, you know, when you start to break those habits, when you start to break those patterns, you see Satan want to keep you stuck in that mind frame. Why? Because he knows it's easier to get you when your spiritual defenses are down, man. You know? Saying like, shut the fuck up, nigga. Yeah, man, this shit real. This shit real. All right, so going back to the article, It says anti-corruption protest descends into chaos as thousands of Gen Z demonstrators storm National Palace in Mexico City. It says rioters stormed the barricades outside the presidential palace in Mexico City as an anti-cartel protest descended into chaos. Mobs of frustrated, mostly Gen Z Mexican protesters traded blows with cops and screamed slogans about how corruption and cartel killings have spiraled out of control in their country. All right, and that's the thing. That's one thing about Gen Z, man. The Lord got a spirit on them, you know, to where the Lord kind of got a spirit where they don't give a fuck. You know, Gen Z kind of got a certain spirit about them to where, you know, they'll stand up against authorities and elders and the powers that be, you know, because they kind of just, Lord got them on a certain frequency where them niggas is just brute beasts. They don't give a fuck. They'll get it cracking, you know. And Gen Z is going to be I believe through the spirit, the Lord going to use Gen Z to fulfill the prophecy when it says Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt, you know. Which that starts in the spirit, but even these niggas, the Lord gonna use these niggas as a sword against Esau in these last days, man. Okay? But ultimately, Esau gonna fucking mop Jake, man. Alright? Because Jake don't got the firepower. Yeah, Jake may got the aggression and the fucking relentless nature, but you don't got the drones, you don't got the weaponry, you don't got the fucking armor Esau got, man. He's gonna outmatch you. You know, he's going to outclass you, outmaneuver you. Because these devils are actually trained for war. Jake just got a Glock. Jake just got a switch. Jake just got the backpack Dracos. You know what I'm saying? Fucking Jake got the Hellcat and the Charger. Esau got tanks. He got Humvees, man. You ain't ready for this devil, man. You ain't ready for this devil. Esau wants you niggas to fucking rebel. Yeah, you gonna be a thorn in his side for a little bit. And then eventually he just gonna send the drones in, man. Send the robots. You know? And that's it for you niggas, man. And then Jake full of shit too, man. A lot of Jake full of shit. Talking about, yeah, man, we got switches. Don't come to Chicago, gang. We got switches. Where the fuck is you niggas at when ICE raided that one apartment building, man? Where was you niggas at then? You tough guys. Man. All right. It says thousands of people filled the streets of the nation's capital and marched to the palace, which is the capital's residence of President Claudia Sheinbaum, which I'm pretty sure she's Amalek. All right. She looked like a Issacharite, but she really, I believe through the spirit, she's Amalek. That's my personal take on it. You know, and that's what Esau does. He likes to infiltrate a lot of countries by putting in puppet leaders. Same thing with these groups, these, you know, Israelite groups. A lot of these Israelite groups are infiltrated with puppet leaders, man. Guys who took the bag. You know, because apparently money is worth more than their integrity and their standing with the Lord. So it says, the progressive politician who took office last October, the demonstration largely organized by young activists and supported by older supporters of opposition movements, was the culmination of citizens' frustration with the government's inability to stop violence and provide economic opportunity. Protesters, many of whom were calling for Sheinbaum's resignation, were seen trying to breach police barricades around the palace. Authorities responded by shooting tear gas out into the crowd, causing people to run in all different directions. Clashes between citizens and police lasted for hours, but eventually order was returned to the area around the palace. Exactly, man. Just like what we were saying earlier. Yeah, you may, you know, put up a little fight, but eventually the powers that be, they're going to roll over you, man, because the Lord put them in that position to be in that government position. So and that's why a lot of these different people who try to fight against Rome, they couldn't take down Rome because it wasn't time for Rome to be taken down. You know, you had the Jewish-Roman wars, and yeah, Jake was putting up a fight. But eventually, who won? Rome, Esau, okay? You know? And that's just what it is, man. YAHAWASHI got to be the one to take him out the way. So in these times that we're coming in, you know, we're not trying to fight Esau to overcome and overthrow the government. You know, we're going to be battling to protect our lives and our household and the elect. You know, and Lord willing, we're going to prevail because Yahweh Shem is going to be fighting with us and giving us spiritual power to even the playing field against this devil, man. You know, but we're not fighting Esau to take over America. We fighting Esau so that this devil don't roll over us, man. And some of us going to get killed in these last days and be martyrs for Yahweh Shem Shai. You know, but we got to be willing to drink that cup, man. Okay? But see, the Lord is putting the spirit on us, and he's training us to not be afraid of death, to not be afraid of men. You know, he's hardening our spirits to where we could look death in the face and smile. You know? And that shit didn't come overnight through the spirit. You know, but the Lord's putting the type of ancient, you know, warlike, manly spirit back in us in these last days, man. So we could be in the face of opposition and not flinch. We could look down the barrel of a gun and be composed, man. You know? You know? And I'm not trying to tempt the Lord when I say this. I'm just saying this is the type of spirit Yahweh Shem is building in his elect in these last days, man. All right? Because like the scriptures say, the fear of man bringeth a snare. You know, and it's easier said than done. But you're really only supposed to fear the Lord. You're only supposed to fear the Lord. You ain't even supposed to be afraid of demons. You ain't supposed to be afraid of nothing but Yahweh Shem Yahawashi, man. You know, and yes, the flesh is going to have its reaction, but the spirit got to kick in. Okay? It says Pablo Vasquez, Mexico City's chief of police, said 20 people were arrested and are set to be charged with battery, assault, and robbery. Bloomberg reported. It says Vasquez added that 60 of his officers were injured, 40 of whom had to be sent to the hospital for treatment. And guess what? This type of same dynamic is about to come to Babylon the Great very soon. Outrage over the November 1st assassination of Carlos Manzo, the mayor of a crime-ridden town of western Mexico, was on the mind of most people who joined the protest. Many could be seen wearing straw hats that symbolize his political movement, which is vigorously focused on having a zero-tolerance policy for organized crime, right? Which, you know, cartel falls under the umbrella of that term, all right? It says, the state is dying, said Rosa Maria Avila, a 65-year-old real estate agent who traveled from the town of Pátzcuaro in Michoacan state. He was killed because he was a man who was sending officers into the mountains to fight delinquents. He had the guts to confront them, she said of Manzo. Saturday was the biggest protest against Sheinbaum to date. She has responded to demonstrations throughout the week by accusing right-wing groups of being behind the escalating shows of discontent. And once again, it's that whole left-right paradigm. Discontent means dissatisfaction. Not content, you know? It says the protest against Sheinbaum and her Marina party, which Manzo splintered off from in 2024, resemble other Gen Z-led movements like the ones in Nepal and Madagascar, countries where the governments were toppled. All right? Yeah. Which shows us what? Uproars of the people. These are the signs of the times. Because, yeah, in Madagascar, Pastor R was like, what the fuck type of people are these? Hey, Madagascar, yeah, they just had a coup, you know, where their government got overran. But the guy before the most recent one, that government got overran too. So a lot of these nations are unstable right now. But this is just a sign of the times. And see, in the kingdom of heaven, we wish you nations would try to fucking run a coup. All right, a coup d'etat. And try to fucking overthrow the governments, the powers that be. You other nations ain't going fucking... Even if they was to try to do that, that shit will get put down in one day. In 1 second, God damn it. A lot of these nations, they're going to be so in subjection, they're not even going to want to dare to do that. But if they try, that's they fucking ass, man. You know? But you got these other fucking Israelite camps talking about some, oh, Gog and Magog after 1,000 years are going to rise up and fight against us. And, man, they wouldn't stand a chance. If you can't overthrow Esau, how much more you think you're going to overthrow YAHAWASHI and his elect, man? With new bodies, spiritual power. Get out of here, man. Good luck. Because you're going to fail miserably. Okay? You're going to fail miserably, man. Let me grab that precept, actually. Coup d'etat. Isaiah chapter 60. And I'll start at verse 10. It says, and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls. Genesis, who's going to fulfill that precept right there? And salvation is for everybody, right? And the Gentiles can be saved. Who's going to fulfill that precept right there, Genesis? Who are those strangers? Isaiah 60 and 10, and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. Hold on, let me check the battery life on this phone. All right, we got a little bit more juice. We might have to close out soon, unfortunately, but it is what it is. All right. Anyways, Isaiah chapter 60, verse 10, and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. It says, for in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Yeah. So who's going to fulfill that precept right there? This is talking about in the kingdom of heaven, the other nations, they're going to be building up our kingdom through the spirit and power of BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. All right? The other nations, they're going to be building up our palaces, building up our walls, working in the fields, reaping our harvest. You know? All right? The plowman shall overtake the reaper, right? Well, guess what? They're going to be the plowmen in the kingdom of heaven, and we're going to be the reapers who overtook them. All right? And that's going to happen when YAHAWASHI returns. That's not going to happen on this side. That's going to happen when YAHAWASHI returns. But the signs of that prophecy being fulfilled is starting on this side. And a number one sign of that, out of many, is Esau, your woman, don't want you no more. Your woman want Jake. And she always wanted Jake. Even when we're still in a low estate, but even when we were in a very, very low estate, back during the time of plantation slavery, chattel slavery, your woman still wanted us back then, man. But even recently, which, you know, we don't fuck with adultery around here, right? But a lot of times, you out and about, you or Jake doing your thing, you see Esau with his woman giving you the wonton eyes, man. She all smiley and giggly right in front of her fucking man, looking at you. And Lord knows the type of thoughts she's thinking about you, man. You know? So that is a sign that we at the end. You losing your woman, man. That's a sign that your kingdom is over with, man. You know? All right, man. Yes, sir. So this is Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 11. It says, therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. Yeah, so in the kingdom of heaven, these other nations, they're going to be constantly coming in, bringing in their resources and their riches. You know? All right. Convince the gainsayers, as the scriptures say. You know? And see, that's the thing. And Lord willing, that's going to be I believe through the Spirit, that's going to be a testimony for them guys, man. They're going to say, man, we ran into a Hebrew Israelite, not knowing that they Hebrew Israelites too. They're going to be like, man, we ran into a Hebrew Israelite, man, you know, hey, that dude, he was all right, man, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know? And Lord willing, if my face is on the billboard one day saying wanted, dead or alive, they might, you know, say, hey, man, nah, that's a good guy right there. Lord willing. You know, but ultimately the praise goes to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, man. He's the one who gives us the mouth and the wisdom that our adversaries cannot gainsay nor resist, man. You know? He's the one who gives us the spirit, the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding to convince the gainsayers, man. To confound these people that they cannot resist our words. Like they said about Stephen. When Stephen was cutting into him, man, it said they couldn't resist his words, man. You know, that's in Acts the 6th chapter. And it said when they looked upon him, he had the face of an angel, man. And best believe Stephen is back here today. All right? And he's probably in Great Millstone. Okay? You know? But best believe he back here today doing the work of the Lord, calling on Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, especially calling on YAHAWASHI, man. All right? This is Isaiah chapter 60, verse 12. It says, for the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. Yeah. So any nation who don't want to service in that day, you donezo, man. Finished. Okay? This is the book of Jeremiah. And we wish you other nations would try to run a coup in the kingdom, man. We wish you would. We wish you would. Let me get to Jeremiah first before I get the definition of a coup. All right? Jeremiah chapter 12. I'm going to start at verse... Start at verse 14. Jeremiah 12 and 14. Thus saith the Lord, against all mine evil neighbors. Yeah, because a lot of people say, oh, love thy neighbor, right? But you heathen nations are our evil neighbors. Who's going to fulfill this precept right here, Genesis? Who's going to fulfill this precept right here? Jeremiah 12 and 14. Thus saith the Lord, against all mine evil neighbors. Right? Baruch says what? The neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity. So shall they shortly see your salvation. And you're going to tread upon their necks. Who's going to fulfill that precept right there, Genesis? You niggas sold out, man. Fuck you niggas, man. Through the spirit of power, YAHAWASHI. And I mean that in a righteous sense. Fuck you niggas, man. All right? But hey, I ain't gonna get emotional. This is all the will of the Lord. But you niggas ain't right. You clearly sold out, man. Because I used to follow Sakari, man, back in the day. So I know you used to teach that the heathen can't be saved, man. All right? You know? But then one guy who used to formerly be a part of Great Millstone, that he broke off, and I don't know what he doing now. I don't even think he still believe anymore, technically. But he told me, he the one who warned me to get away from them guys, man. And he told me, he's like, the blood is off my hands. And when he said that, something clicked in my spirit. I was like, if he's talking to me like this, clearly something ain't right. And then the Lord revealed it to me, and I seen it for myself. I said, yeah, the Lord ain't dealing with these guys. And then I jumped ship, you know. I jumped ship before that ship sank to YAHAWASHI, and that was years ago, you know. But anyways, point of the matter is, I know for a fact Sakari used to teach that the other nations couldn't make it, man. Now all of a sudden, the other nations can make it, according to Hakan Hassad. Man, you niggas took the bag, man. So fuck y'all. Y'all gonna die. You niggas gonna die, man. All right, through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI. The Lord gonna destroy you niggas, man. All right? And I ain't saying it out of emotion. I'm telling you the truth, man. All right? Jeremiah chapter 12, verse 14. Thus said the Lord, against all mine evil neighbors that touch the inheritance which I have caused my people Israel to inherit. Behold, I will pluck them out of their land and pluck out the house of Judah from among them. Right, so the Lord's going to take us from among these heathen nations, man. All right? It says, and it shall come to pass after that I have plucked them out. How is he going to do that? When Yahawashi returns in the fathership to gather his elect. It says, and it shall come to pass after that I have plucked them out, I will return and have compassion on them, and will bring them again, every man to his heritage and every man to his land. Right, so the real Israelites are going to get brought back to their homeland, all right, which is the land of Israel. All right? You know, like that dude said, are you Jewish? Well, no, I am a Jew, okay, by technicality, which being a Jew was a derogatory term. But nonetheless, you know, we are the real Israelites, man, okay? Amalek is Jewish, all right? Jewish, right? He's like a Jew, but he is not a Jew, all right? Benjamin Netanyahu, not a Jew, like the Elder Malcolm would be saying, all right? Anyways, we're going to go back to our original homeland where these devils inhabit. Like the scriptures say how Jerusalem shall be trodden of the Gentiles, man. Okay? Jeremiah 12:16. And it shall come to pass, if they will diligently learn the ways of my people, to swear by my name, the Lord liveth, as they taught my people to swear by Baal, then shall they be built in the midst of my people. Meaning what? You other nations, you're going to come up under us, man. You're going to learn of the ways of the power of Jacob. You're going to learn from the Israelites how to serve Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. Now, salvation is not for you. You're not going to get new bodies. You're not going to be saved, see? But you're going to be subject to us and our laws, statutes, and commandments through the spirit and power of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. All right? And you're going to be subject to worshiping the Lord. And see, it was like that in the past. You know, the nations, why did the other nations go to seek out the wisdom from King Solomon? You didn't think they didn't know that his God was Yahweh? You see? But we were sovereign. We were in order. We had dominion over the earth because we were in our proper order as Israelites, man. Fearing Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. So the other nations flowed to Israel. Okay? Just like when Abraham, our forefather Abraham, was in order with the Lord, all his servants, they weren't Israelites. You see? They were technically heathen. But they called on the Lord back in them times, man. And what proves that is the story with our forefather and our foremother, Rebekah and Isaac, right? Isaac is our Lord Yahawashi. When Abraham told his servant to swear unto him that he would go into his brethren and get his son a wife, which was our foremother, Rebekah, right? His servant prayed to the Lord to bring Rebekah to him so he can give her to Isaac. He said, the God of my master Abraham. So that's how it's going to be in the kingdom. You heathen nations, you're going to pray to Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. You're going to worship Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI because he's going to be the only God to be worshipped in all of existence. The Lord said he's going to famish the idols out of the land. So there will be no more idols in the kingdom of heaven. So who you nations going to reverence? Who you nations going to praise? Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, man. All right, rightfully so. But you're not going to be saved. Salvation is not for you other nations, you know, but you're going to be subject to our ways. So Jeremiah 12:16, I'll read it again. And it shall come to pass, if they will diligently learn the ways of my people, to swear by my name, the Lord liveth, as they taught my people to swear by Baal, then shall they be built in the midst of my people. But if they will not obey, I will utterly pluck up and destroy that nation, saith the Lord. So if it just so happens to where you other nations don't want to obey in the kingdom of heaven, hey, it's over for you, man. You gonna fucking pay. Another scripture to back that up is the book of Zechariah, where it says how I'm gonna try to make this quick because that battery about to die. Zechariah, where it says how if the family of Egypt don't come up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, upon them shall be no rain. Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So Genesis, who's going to fulfill this precept right here, man? And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. So if the other nations can make it, why would this happen to the other nations in the kingdom of heaven? It says, and if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Who's going to fulfill that in the kingdom, man? This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. You see? So that's the point right there. So you other nations, if you just so happen to buck up and feel froggy and want to leap in that day to where you don't want to worship Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI and be subject to his people, you going to pay for it, man. All right? you're gonna fucking pay. That dude got a spirit on him. All right, so this is from Wikipedia. It says a coup d'état is a French word, or simply a coup is typically an illegal and an overt attempt by a military organization or other government elites to unseat an incumbent person or leadership. A self-coup is said to take place when a leader, having come to power through legal means, tries to stay in power through illegal means. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a coup d'état. All right? It says, what is the meaning of a coup d'état? Merriam-Webster.
Coup d'etat.
Coup d'état. It says, a sudden, decisive exercise of force in politics, especially the violent overthrow or alteration of an existing government by a small group. So we ain't gonna be having none of that in the kingdom, man. We ain't gonna be having none of that in the kingdom, man. We wish you other nations would try to do some shit like that in the kingdom, man. But they're gonna be too afraid to even try us like that, man. But just in case you think you can, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna see that that's gonna fail miserably. All right? And when you go into the etymology of coup d'état, the etymology says literally stroke of the state. All right? Yeah. It says coup, a blow, a strike. So they're going to try to smite the state or strike at the state, and they're going to fail miserably, man. But I'm going to wrap it up with that. Okay? Lord willing, this camp lesson was edifying through the Spirit, and I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH. All right? Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that were well. Peace and blessings to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom, Abababal, Kwam Yasharala. And Yahweh Shem Shabakatam to the elect tuning in. Yahweh Shem Shabakatam, Shalom.